Hi, I'm KaCey and welcome to my channel. I'm so excited to be here with you because this is my very first dedicated video to the Built for This channel. Now I'm sure that you've seen some other videos or some other speaking engagements or activities that I've been a part of, but this is the first one that I'm doing specifically for this particular channel. And it's my hope and my prayer that as you come and as you watch the videos, that there's something that you learn about yourselves as well as I share a little bit about me. And we'll go into more and you'll learn more about what Built for This is and what that platform is and really how I've used it to be my own personal mantra. But today we're going to talk about love. We know that in a couple months Valentine's Day is coming up. We know that the holidays have just passed, and at some point throughout the year there are things that come up in our lives where we want to share those things with someone else. And so there's all kinds of love, right? We know that there's love between family and love between friends, love between significant others. And really what I want to talk about today is that none of those types of love matter if you don't have one particular love in place. There's a book that I read years ago called The 5 Love Languages by Gary Chapman, and a lot of you are probably very familiar with that book. And it talks about the different ways that people experience and receive love, and that is probably different for a lot of folks. That is very rare that two people who are in a relationship with one another, be it romantically or platonically, have the same love language, right? But I would submit to you that it doesn't mean that people don't love you. It just means that they haven't taken the time to figure out what you need in order to receive the love that they give. Because the truth is that people love you in their capacity. I've learned this the hard way over the years, that I give a special kind of love to those people that I am in connection with, that I'm bonded with, that I'm in a relationship with. And sometimes for a long time, I expected for them to love me back the same way. A lot of them didn't have the capacity to do that. Some friendships and some relationships ended because of it. Others I persevered through, and we figured out what each other's love language is or was in order for it to be successful. But the reality of all of that is that people can only give you what you've deemed appropriate. We hear it all the time, and you know, it's cliche, but it's true that you teach people how to treat you. We hear it all the time. It's a true statement. I don't think there's any truer statement out there that the things that you accept and the things that you desire in your life could be totally different from the next person. And so sometimes we have to retrain the people in our lives so that they know how to show up for us, how to support us, how to love us, right? And so in that, sometimes we do that by loving people the way that we want to be loved. And we get a little confused and a little hurt sometimes because we're like, well, we're giving them an example, but it goes back to maybe that's not how they receive love. And so while you're loving hard, they still don't get the example in it because it's a different type of reception, or they need to receive love in a different way for them to be able to identify it as love. And so again, we put ourselves out there and we exert ourselves and we sacrifice ourselves a lot of times for the people that we love, saying that, you know, love me back the way that I'm loving you. But it translates differently for each person. So even though you know that that's love for you, it may not be love that they're receiving because it's not their language, so to speak. Hopefully that makes sense. I know that I had to kind of dig around a little to find these answers for myself as well, because I had to realize that all the things that I want, other people don't need in order for them to feel as though they're being loved. right? So even though I was doing those things, it didn't trigger for them to do those things for me because it's not what they needed. So they didn't see it as love. I had to figure out what they needed, show that to them so that I could provide an example of what love felt like in order for them to then figure out what I needed to be loved. So it takes some time. But I will submit to you as well that none of that matters if, again, another cliche, but a true statement, you don't first love yourself. We know that people tell us all the time that, you can't love somebody else if you don't know how to love yourself. And that is true. Because the reality is that if we don't know what love is in any iteration, it's hard to give it and it's hard to receive it, right? I posted something on Facebook a couple of days ago, I think yesterday actually, and I simply said that if you're looking for love and you can't find it, then it's probably an indication that you need to love yourself more, that people are only going to love you a fraction of how much you love yourself. And I believe that that is true. I believe that people can't give you anything more than what you can give to yourself. Now, we're not talking about materialistic things and people buying you things that you can't afford for yourself. We're talking about this internal work, this intrinsic work that we have to do, this personal development, this spiritual development that we have to do. That people can't give you more than what you can give to yourself. And if you haven't learned to love yourself fully, then it's going to be really hard for somebody else to love you fully as well. Because a lot of times we're looking for people to do things for us that we can only do ourselves. Now, I'm preaching to the choir right here, and I'm also talking to myself because it's a reminder that I have to give myself a lot of the times, that because I'm such a people person and because I love folks hard, there's still some level of expectation that I have that I want people to do the same for me. And again, it's not that they don't love me, it's that they love me in their capacity, right? And it's their choice to make the decision as to whether or not they're going to enlarge that capacity or if they're okay with where it is. But it doesn't mean that they don't love me or that they don't love me as much as they possibly can. Again, it's based on their capacity. But even in their capacity, if I'm loving myself fully and unconditionally, that fraction that they give to me is enough. Now, mind you, we're not talking about people being disrespectful and insensitive. I'm really talking about them giving you their best. Why expect for someone else to give you more than what you give to yourself? And a lot of times we can't love ourselves unconditionally because we haven't forgiven ourselves in some areas. We're feeling inadequate in some places in our lives. We're not happy with ourselves overall. And so because we haven't done that work, we're hoping other people will overcompensate and do more and do something extra so that we feel loved as well. When I think about love, I always go to my favorite passage, and it's 1 Corinthians 13:1, and most of us know it very well, but I'm going to start at verse 4, and I'm going to read just a little bit to you. It says that love suffers long and is kind. Love does not envy, love does not parade itself, is not puffed up, does not behave rudely, does not seek its own, is not provoked, thinks no evil, does not rejoice in iniquity, but rejoices in the truth, bears all things, believes all things, hopes all things, endures all things. Love never fails. But whether there are prophecies, they will fail. Whether there are tongues, they will cease. Whether there is knowledge, it will vanish away. For we know in part and we prophesy in part. But that which is perfect has come, love. Then that which is in part will be done away. And then it goes on in another familiar passage. When I was a child, I spoke as a child, understood, but when I became a man, I put away childish things. But in reading that, we always think about external love. We always think about the love that we're supposed to give to other people when we think about love being long-suffering. Those of us who stay in these relationships that we do not need to be in because we think that love is long-suffering. Well, I don't want to suffer long if I don't have to for good reason, right? That love is not boastful. That love is not going to throw things in your face and remind you of all the wrong that you've done. So people go to this passage to explain to other people when they've wronged them in love. But do we use it as a barometer for how we love ourselves? Do we forgive ourselves? Do we suffer long in the love that we give to ourselves? Are we being careful not to be envious of other people and playing this comparison game with other folks? Are we content with ourselves? I mean, even as it talks about enduring all things and hoping all things, do we do that for ourselves? It goes on to tell us that love will never fail. But how many times do we allow ourselves to give up on the hope of love from others, on our dreams, on the prophecies that God has given to us, and the purpose and the plan that we have for our lives? There are a lot of things about myself that I would love to change, physically, emotionally, psychologically. Like, I probably could fill up an entire notebook of things if I were that tedious and that methodical about the things that I would love to be different about me. But even though there are things that I would like to be different about myself, I'm learning how to love myself unconditionally right where I'm at. That I'm not going to shame myself. I'm not going to discount myself or anything that I have to offer or give because I'm not where I want to be. I have a goal of losing weight, a lot of weight. I have goals of wishing that my hair was longer. I have goals of not being so consumed by other people because I love them so much and the decisions that they make. I have goals of making sure that other people's moods don't shift mine. I could go on, but even though these are things that I wish were different in my life, it doesn't mean that I have to love myself any less or accept someone's ill attempt at loving me at their full capacity. It doesn't work like that. But I cannot expect anybody to give me anything more than what I give myself. There's some of us who are lucky that people love us in spite of ourselves, that people love us beyond our hurt, love us beyond our pain. And those are blessings to have in our lives. But if for some reason you don't have those people in your life, so what? You make up the difference by the way that you love yourself. I said that 2017 was going to be my year of intentionality. That I was going to be intentional about everything. Intentional about my growth and my walk with Christ. That I was going to be intentional about growing my businesses. That I was going to be intentional about being more healthy and more fit. I was also going to be intentional about my personal life, right? That I wanted to date more and that I wanted to have a meaningful relationship this year. But then I thought about it. I have to start that with myself. So while dates will come and while people will show interest, I'm going to be intentional about loving myself the way that I want somebody else to love me. So if there's something that I want and I can afford it, I'm going to buy it. If there's some place that I want to go and there's no one there to take me, I'm going to take myself. I'm not going to sit out in life because no one else has shown up to give me something that I haven't worked hard to first give myself. And the beautiful part about that is that when people show up and they can match your love that you have for yourself, you know when it's real, you know when it's true, and you can quickly weed out the randoms. And randoms aren't just romantic partners. Randoms are people who want to leech onto your purpose, your plan, your vision, your provision, whatever it is, because they see that you're going someplace and they want to be a part of it. When you know what's good for you, and when you loved yourself to the point that there is no void that anybody else has to come and fill, that whatever they give to you is extra, is overflow. It's that stuff in the saucer that you can then give to other people, right? Then you quickly understand and recognize those folks that you need to say hi and bye to, and then those folks that you need to invite into your life. So I encourage you to love yourself more in this year, starting today. There's no foolproof plan. There's no strategy. There's no blueprint that everybody must follow. You know where your capacity is for the love that you have for yourself. Does it need to increase? Does it need to stay where it is because you are rocking out at 100% already? Or do you need to be a little bit more intentional about forgiving yourself, about hoping more, about dreaming more, about understanding that you can never fail yourself? So love you more, and then the next day love yourself even more than that. I promise you, you'll find new ways to do it, and you'll find that there's always more room for love. I'll see you next time.